We need to talk about the four pillars of Iman. Wait, no, it's not Yemen, it's not Amen, it's Yimanu, which we don't know how there's a nu at the end because we think there needs to be a ha or a wow in order to make it Imanu. And that first letter is an aleph, which is either u, or I, and that's why I know a lot about that's why I can figure out Bible things because like short vowels in Arabic, like they're not written because that could it's hard to not see that it's hard to not say that's iman it's hard to not say that's not iman, like that's what I see when I see it. So we've been digging pretty deep into the four virtues: justice, courage, wisdom, and temperance, which we really have gotten into Sofrosuni to that point, especially because of Ali. Like I didn't explain it to you. I read a paper on Sofrosune, and that was I think because I was trying to read Socrates. So Sofrosune has been used in so many ways that like it has even been used in like an orderliness way, um, because if you think about it, like the older you get, the more like organized you get. Like when you're like that's one of the keys to school is like you have to learn how to get organized, and so like you get more sofrosune, and so I feel like sofrosune like is like moving towards perfection of the soul, and like you can't reach sofrosune until you're old, is what Socrates sort of said, right? Here it says, Cephalus tells Socrates, old age brings us a profound repose and freedom from this and other passions. When the appetites have abated and their force is diminished, the description of Sophocles is perfectly realized. I looked up Sophocles and it like apparently it will lead you straight to the playwright. I'm not the only person that knows that, but like I think that like it's one of those conversions from like Sofrosune, like where like the other writer talks about it like Sofrosune is like perfection of the soul. Like it's like the final virtue you can master. But it's also like probably the most important virtue is like learning how to like practice silence, which apparently I think was connected to another virtue. Like I think that it's connected to certainty for Ali because like he says there are four divisions of certainty: perceptive understanding, knowing wisdom, like knowing, like actually knowing, like knowing enough to know. Like that's what college does is it like it teaches you like you don't know anything. Like you think you're smart, you don't know anything. Like and then you learn from your lessons and you follow the behavior of companions, which for me I think is wisdom. Like there's nothing like my life. Like I'm always getting set up to like feel like an idiot. And like all I ever do is learn from my mistakes and like I think there's nothing that like is more important to me. Someone was saying something like, if you die, like we're gonna still marry like someone that's you. Like he's not gonna be you, but like we're still gonna marry you. And like what I told him is, I know, like please, of course, but doesn't mean they have like the same. They haven't been like tricked as many times as me. Like I feel like my people actually do trick me like when I'm young to like get me to that point. All right. So we have to talk about the four pillars of being an unbeliever. Um, One thing we will say is that on the day of resurrection, like you should not be afraid apparently because Ali says that. He says you'll have contentment on the day of the resurrection. But then we get to the like what I would say like it says kufr, which means that it's related to the word kafir, and Americans know that because we're kafirs. Like it's the way we are, which like apparently it was that common of a term like back then, kind of like we were talking about sinner, like it was just everyone's a sinner. But we've talked about sin is like you're missing the greatest good, like you're missing the eudaimonia, which like what I found out is that like kalo was used for good in Aristotle, and but I do think that the eudaimonia is like a greater good. But probably Aristotle was afraid of the eudaimonia because Socrates got killed, right? So like if like something's obscure, like like for I guess he's talking about a person's like that's being obscure, being contentious, deviating from like the plan because like this is a war situation and causing like problems in the ranks. Like that's like what he sees as like the four pillars of like being a kufr, or being of like kufr in general, which would be being a kafir. But clearly, like when we read the Bible, like it's obscure. Like we've gotten to that point with the Christian Bible where like if you've followed me enough, like like there is no way that's what it says. So we've talked about like the sin is the opposite of the virtues, like in Origen's writings. So like when we're talking about like kufr, we're talking about like you're being a sinner. Like if you're not like if you're like, and this is how you can figure out if someone's being a sinner. They're like constantly like getting in arguments. Like they don't trust like you ever. Like I never believe you ever, like which is unfortunate, like because like my mom like doesn't trust me, but like I feel like I have to, like she's gotten to the point that she's acting like she trusts me, and I appreciate that, and I want her to be a person that trusts me. And it's like it like, but it's being a sinner, like, and vacillation, like going back and forth, like, and like the reality is that like you should vacillate at some point, but like you should realize that like you're on my team, like you want to be on my team that much. So the moment woman, like it is not woman, like I spelled it wrong, I looked it up, that's like woman, because it's a wow. This is the opposite of a kafir, right? And so like, but when we're seeing this spelling, we're going, okay, there's no mark above the meme, like it's like woman, which like woman is actually what it is. And what's my name? Mormon. And like we're seeing Amen too. This is the four pillars of Amen. Like even though it's Iman, like for me, Arabic like means like it can be or u or and like when it can be that many short vowels, like you have no problem like thinking about it. But that yeah clearly makes it Iman, Iman. I think. So we haven't really talked about like the virtue of silence, which is something that Ben Franklin talks about. And like I'm someone that like is that serious about silence. Like you'll never believe how silent I am. Like even though like I'm talking about like when I'm with people, like if I'm with a group, like I'm listening. Like I think that people like to talk themselves, and like I do think you should be an active listener. But like I do think the value of like keeping your mouth shut is something that's taught in like every religion, probably like very from Solomon. Apparently, Sirach is that serious about it. Oh no, that's the wisdom of Isus. We can't know that. Anything related to Isus has to be destroyed, which leads me to Islam. Like, what do they call Isus? Yeshua. Is that actually what his name is? It's close enough. Like they were tricked. Muhammad, peace be upon him, was tricked by Jewish people, and the order of Melchizedek had taken over the church, and Muhammad ended up going to war with them, and it was that situation, like where he learned Isus's name from them, like, and then you'd probably say, well, Muhammad's not a prophet, then like he has to know everything. People are like that. No, prophets know everything ever. No, they just speak the logos. So the goal of the virtues is happiness, we think, and he talks about the happiness of the believers is on his face, and his sadness is in his heart. His bosom is the most expansive of all else, and his self is more humble than anyone else. He dislikes high rank and hates reputation. His affliction is long-lasting. His distress is far-reaching. He is silent a great deal and spends much of of his time at work. He is thankful, patient, immersed in his contemplation, needing little, and of easy disposition, like of easy personality, like it's just easy to deal with him, and with a mild nature. His self is more impervious than a rock. Like who he is, like you can't change him like with your lies. And he is more humble than a slave. Like you can convince me that like Socrates was a pedophile and we all know it, and like I will tell people that was a pedophile. I will spread that rumor, and then I'll also tell them like I don't believe in Socrates. Like I think that Socrates is a fake person because too many people are lying about Socrates. But I think that Hera's name is now Kata, and I think that's why it's face, because she has such a nice face. And I think that like Kata has a lot of wisdom, and when we talk about his bosom is the most expansive, like it's like his embrace, like his hug, like his dami un brazo, like give me a hug, like give me your arm, like come into my bosom. Like we've talked about it before, and what that means, and like that means that like a lot of people can be a part of like what Allah is. It was bringing these people in. Was that a name? Well, clearly we've got Alleluia, and like we all say it, and it means one another. Let's all sing one another, one another, one another, one another. No, it's Allah. Deal with it.